Hello and welcome back to another Minecraft Dungeons video. Before I begin this video, I do want to say that I got a new microphone, so hopefully if I've set it up right, that it does give this video better audio quality, but if it doesn't, I'm sure it'll be fine, but I will figure it out in the future. Without further ado, we'll get into the video. So, this video is a more or less updated concept version of my Hawk brand DPS build. So in that video I used this Hawk brand with Void Strike, Gilded, Unchanting and Committed for what I believe was 6.7 million DPS, which made it like the 6th place in Shin's DPS video, while still having the good defensive properties like having Guarding Strike. So in this video I'm using that same concept but making it a glue strike video, as I think you might have already figured out with Echo of the Valley and Squid armor. So let's get onto the melee weapon. We've got the Resolute Tempest knife, which is a similar weapon to the Hawk brand, but the reason I didn't use this instead of the Hawk brand in my initial video is because the Tempest knives have really high knockback, meaning that if you don't use gravity, you basically can't use the weapon effectively. And if I used gravity, then I wouldn't be able to use another enchant slot for DPS, and which would mean that the Hawk brand would ultimately have higher DPS. So that's why I chose it. But in this video, I'm putting gravity on the bow, which means I can use those slots for higher DPS. So with these enchants, Committed built in, Unchanting, or actually without Unchanting, Ambush and Critical Hit, we've got almost 7.2 million DPS, which makes it 3rd or 4th in Shin's DPS DPS tier list, which is a substantial bit higher, and that is without counting the Glue Strike. With Glue Strike, I'm sure it's the first even, so yeah, there's that. Obviously, we've got Unchanting for the double damage against enchanted mobs, very much needed. And on the Glow Squid armor, we've got obviously the perks release in cloud when rolling, very important to trigger the ambush, which is important to trigger the glue strike. Potion barrier built in, Acrobat to roll frequently, and unfortunately we couldn't get cooldown shot on the bow, so you do still need to use cooldown on the armor, which would have been nice if we didn't have to, but it's whatever. And Death Barter. On the bow, Echo of the Valley, as we know, burst bowstring built in to pull the mobs in when we roll, pull the mobs into the in clouds to trigger glue strike, gravity to hold the mobs in place, which is usually pretty common among glue strike builds because you want to keep them inside that area and kill them quickly without them losing void strike and walking away, etc. Radiant shot to heal, we get 23,000 health per hit, and because it's 50% chance to spawn, we get roughly 50,000 health every time we roll. And because we've got such high defense from the Ink Cloud and the Guarding Strike, we are pretty good with ourselves. And obviously Void Strike. So, that is the entire build. If you don't already understand Glue Strike, it's when you apply a Void Strike with your ranged weapon, and then with red numbers or weakening, you deal damage and it doesn't go away. So in our case, our consistent red numbers are ambush, so watch as I hit it, I'll attack, and it just keeps on rising until it resets again. The first hit was 1 million damage, now we're getting hits for 11 million at our highest. That is exactly it. So obviously, my initial Hawk brand video had more consistent healing because it did use Wither armor, but because we're doing so much more damage and we've got damage reduction in the form of ink, we probably don't need as much healing, so Radiant Shot would probably be just as viable. So yeah, that is the build. Let's get into a level to showcase it. And I think in that video we did, I think it was Desert Temple, so I think we'll just do that again. So yeah, if you like this build, please go ahead and let me know in the comments below. Consider liking this video, subscribing, it helps me out a ton. And if you're keen to learn more about Minecraft Dungeons, how to make builds, how to make good builds, talk to more people, my Discord's link will be in the description below. And without further ado, enjoy. There's going to be more videos like this coming in the future, and stick around for that. You'll enjoy them, I promise. Obviously, things like spiders stopping you from rolling are pretty disastrous in this build, and if you get low, there's really not much else you can do about it. If you're trying to heal back with Radiant Shot, it's quite hard. So that's just something to keep in mind, I suppose. But for being consistent, it's pretty good at that, and it is actually pretty hard to lose health unless you get stuck by spiders. So like even that situation for a lot of builds would probably end them up in a pretty dire situation, but because I was constantly rolling in the area, the mobs were inked, meaning they had a 75% chance to miss the attacks, so I actually stayed pretty high health, and any attacks that I did get hit by, I out-healed pretty easily with Radiant Shot. even that situation was handled pretty well at the moment. A lot of builds probably couldn't survive that as easily. Obviously, not a lot of good builds. I mean, not a lot of great builds would survive. Not a lot of bad builds would be able to survive that. Obviously, if you have lifesteal aura and a cursed axe, you survive that pretty easily. But the build held up pretty decently there, even though we got close to dying. So. said before, if you have any comments about how you change things, if you liked it or not, any criticisms, let me know in the comments. If you ultimately liked the video, give it a like. And if you want to see more content such as this, give me a subscribe, and I really appreciate it. And I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.
The Necromancer's staff is destroyed. Once again, the Arch-Illager is thwarted.